Où sont les toilettes?
Where is the bathroom? Where is the bathroom?
Où est mon téléphone?
Where is my phone? Where is my phone?
Où est l'arrêt de bus?
Where is the bus stop? Where is the bus stop?
Où est le café?
Where is the coffee shop? Where is the coffee shop?
Où est mon portefeuille?
Where is my wallet? Where is my wallet?
Où est la gare?
Where is the train station? Where is the train station?
Où est la sortie?
Where is the exit? Where is the exit?
Où est le parking?
Where is the parking lot? Where is the parking lot?
Où est ton bureau?
Where is your office? Where is your office?
Où est la pharmacie?
Where is the pharmacy? Where is the pharmacy?
Où est l'hôpital?
Where is the hospital? Where is the hospital?
Où est le supermarché?
Where is the supermarket? Where is the supermarket?
Où est l'école?
Where is the school? Where is the school?
Où est la poste?
Where is the post office? Where is the post office?
Où est la station-service?
Where is the gas station? Where is the gas station?
Où est la bibliothèque?
Where is the library? Where is the library?
Où est le cabinet médical?
Where is the doctor's office? Where is the doctor's office?
Où est la gare?
Where is the station? Where is the station?
Où est l'aéroport?
Where is the airport? Where is the airport?
Où est le distributeur automatique?
Where is the ATM? Where is the ATM?
Où est la télécommande?
Where is the remote? Where is the remote?
Où est mon passeport?
Where is my passport? Where is my passport?
Où est la cuisine?
Where is the kitchen? Where is the kitchen?
Où est la chambre?
Where is the bedroom? Where is the bedroom?
Où est le placard?
Where is the closet? Where is the closet?
Où est le miroir?
Where is the mirror? Where is the mirror?
Où est la clé?
Where is the key? Where is the key?
Où est le médicament?
Where is the medicine? Where is the medicine?
Où est le chargeur?
Where is the charger? Where is the charger?
Où est le savon?
Where is the soap? Where is the soap?
Où est la serviette?
Where is the towel? Where is the towel?
Où est le parapluie?
Where is the umbrella? Where is the umbrella?
Où est l'eau?
Where is the water? Where is the water?
Où est la télé?
Where is the TV? Where is the TV?
Où est le garage?
Where is the garage? Where is the garage?
Où est l'escalier?
Where is the staircase? Where is the staircase?
Où est ta voiture?
Where is your car? Where is your car?
Où est mon billet?
Where is my ticket? Where is my ticket?
Où est la porte?
Where is the door? Where is the door?
Où est l'ascenseur?
Where is the elevator? Where is the elevator?